Good evening, ladies and germs. Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Propaganda. I'm Benjamin Duncan, broadcasting from Michigan, and Julian is with me, broadcasting from Ohio, if I'm not mistaken, right?
We have Michigan and Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio. Okay. So news this week. News from 7 days ago. This is something that basically missed. Well, I didn't hear about it until it just by happenstance came across my radar. And so we're talking about perhaps one of the most major civil rights decisions to happen in America, or civil rights changes, or civil rights issues where we're trying to fix an injustice that have happened, at least since gay marriage was made legal. And that is the appeal of the constitutionality of a male-only draft. And most people don't know about this, but back in February, a group called the National Coalition for Men filed a lawsuit in Texas about this matter. And the court ruled in Texas that male-only selective service is unconstitutional and violated gender equality, which it obviously does. And since then, though, this past week, 7 days ago, that was appealed. And so there's a little bit of an article about that here.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about this.
Yeah, not a single thing was ever mentioned about this anywhere. Granted, I grant that there are a lot of important things going on in the world right now, but I would think some people would know about this. Federal Appeals Court says male-only draft is constitutional. This is from New Orleans. The Federal Appeals Court in New Orleans upheld the constitutionality of the all-male military draft system Thursday, citing a 1981 U.S. Supreme Court decision. In a decision that overturned a 2019 ruling by a Texas-based federal judge, a panel of the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans said only the Supreme Court may revise its precedent. The case was argued in March and was a result of a lawsuit by the National Coalition for Men and two men challenging the male-only draft. They argued that the 1981 case was decided at a time when women were largely absent from combat. Thursday's unanimous ruling from the three-judge panel acknowledged that the factual underpinning of this controlling Supreme Court decision has changed. However, the judges noted that does not grant a Court of Appeals license to disregard or overrule that precedent. Plaintiffs in the case could seek a rehearing before the full 17-judge panel's court or go to the Supreme Court. Harry Crouch, president of the National Coalition for Men, said organizational leaders will discuss their next move with attorneys. All I can tell you is that we will be moving the case forward, he said. The U.S. government stopped drafting young men into the military in 1973. But every male someone registered for the draft when he turns 18 earlier this year. After the arguments before the Fifth Circuit, our federal commission recommended including women in the military draft system. The commission concluded that the time was right to extend selective services registration to include men and women between the ages of 18 and 26. This is necessarily a fair step, making it possible to draw on the talent of the unified nation in a time of national emergency, the commission's final report said. The 2019 District Court decision declared the male-only draft unconstitutional and has been appealed by the Selective Service System, the federal agency that administers the draft. The appeal was argued during the case. What this is not telling you, though, and the original person who filed the lawsuit, or the original lawyer who was involved, that's a little bit of a side story. It really has nothing to do with the events of it, but he ended up being murdered by some kind of nut job who was involved in. Good morning, Nelson, or good evening. Nelson's joining us.
Hey, guys.
Hey,
Nelson here from California. We're talking about the selective service. What happened is that in February, and no one heard about this. It wasn't on national news anywhere. Julian didn't hear about it. But the unconstitutionality of having only men register for selective service was appealed, or was sued over in February. And 7 days ago, that was appealed. And I just read an article about it, but what that article does not mention, which should shock most people or anger most people, they ruled it was unconstitutional on the basis that only the Supreme Court should be able to overrule their own precedent. So the ruling that the original ruling in 1981, it said that the male only draft was constitutional, was a 1981 ruling. And the reason that they're saying that can't be appealed by the federal judge in Texas is because it was a Supreme Court decision. So the Supreme Court has to overrule its own appeal, which is a fine ruling. I kind of understand that. I understand the legality of it at all.
Makes sense.
But what's annoying about this is, so I'm going to go to a wiki article. The Selective Service was not the only people who were involved in this appeal of the earlier ruling. Also involved in the appeal on the side of keeping Selective Service a male-only system was a number of women's rights organizations who I thought were all against stuff like male-only drafts and crap like that. And so the silver lining here is that they're not hiding anymore about what their really intentions are as far as this. I mean, wouldn't women organizations that are supposed to be about gender equality be all for this not having a male-only draft?
Makes sense.
You would think, but no. They were totally women. National Coalition for Women worked with the Selective Service to keep this on the books. The ACLU worked with the Selective Service to keep this on the books. Why? I have no clue.
Right.
Well, I mean, there's got to be some sort of dissenting opinion, though, if it's valid or not.
I don't know where I haven't been able to find that dissenting opinion. That's fine. But what's also interesting about this is that Wikipedia is usually right in my view, but in citing those groups, their involvement in this, Wikipedia got it ass backwards and accidentally said that the women's organizations and the ACLU were in favor of upholding the previous ruling and saying that the thing was unconstitutional. Yeah, I got that right here. Okay, so
okay,
that's right. So appealing. Okay, share another screen and Chrome tab. Okay.
I mean, I have. I think
the rule was appealed by the United States Appeals for the Fifth Court. The Eagle Forum filed I don't know what this even means, some kind of legal thing. Brief supporting continued registration of men for the draft, opposing requiring women to register, and asking the Court of Appeals to overturn the district court decision. A coalition including the American Civil Liberties Union Foundation of Texas, American Civil Liberties Union, 9 to 5, National Association of Working Women, A Better Balance, Gender Justice, KWH Law Center for Social Justice and Change, the National Organization for Women Foundation, National Women's Law Center, Women's Law Center of Maryland, and the Women's Law Project. Now, what this says, it files an amicus something brief arguing that this Court of Appeals should uphold the district court finding that the current Military Service Selected Act is unconstitutional. That is actually wrong. They actually argued against the ruling. Those groups did. So it made such little sense that Wikipedia wrote it down wrong, which I find curious. So those women's groups were on the side of the Selective Service Commission. You can't read it; it's too small here. But yeah, Wikipedia got that wrong. I don't think they usually do, but they got that wrong. So comments on this? Any comments?
Well, yeah, I think that most of these so-called women's groups are not for equality. They just want so-called equality in the good areas. They're not out fighting for equality in construction workers, really even nursing. They're not like demanding more male nurses or teachers. They want more women in high paying, nice, cushy jobs, which I don't know if they're really cushy, but basically tech's the big thing right now. So that's what they want more women in.
This is very similar to what happened with the
that's kind of the limit, I think,
with the gender. What was it called? The Gender Equality Act, the constitutional amendment that passed. It's one of the few constitutional amendments we've ever had that passed Congress and then failed in the states. Was the ERA, the Equal Rights Act. So the Equal Rights Act, which was passed by Congress in the 70s, a lot of people haven't heard of this, guaranteed equality for men and women, equality for the genders. When it passed Congress, though, and went to the states, some women's groups started to change their minds about it and oppose it based upon things like selective services, based upon things like the family court, divorce courts, alimony, things like that. And they're the ones that overturn it. It wasn't like conservative groups or focus on the family or any of that kind of crap. Then, since then, that amendment has been put back into the platform of the Democratic Party or the sort of things that a lot of politicians run on, but it's been changed. It used to say equality for men and women. Now it just says equality for women. So now they want to pass an equal rights amendment that says equality for women. And now,
well, I would point out that since 1964, the Equal Pay Act has been in effect, and there is no statistical difference in the pay when you look at apples and apples, right, between men and women. The pay is equal. It's maybe 2% difference when you're looking at.
Right. But if a company did pay their men and women differently, that's already against the law.
Right. Yeah. So, and again, that's like same job for same work, right?
Right.
Well, it's not the same work, and it's not the same qualifications. It's not the same experience.
Well, that's not what you're saying is that's not what's causing the pay gap.
Right. Yeah. So the men's soccer and women's soccer is the big thing. It's not the same thing, right? If women wanted to make the same amount of money, they could go try out for the men's team.
Right.
Good luck.
I agree.
Right? So, and I mean, nothing about
a lot of the sports is a little different. I mean, it's entertainment. But yeah, I mean,
it's meritocracy.
It is a meritocracy, and I don't feel bad for women athletes because they're able to play in a sport that a lot of men who probably would be better than them are not able to play in because they can't make the men's teams. They're given the special league where they're able to compete and make a living doing what they're doing, and ahead of maybe better male athletes who aren't able to get in. And so as far as when transgender people get into like UFC and stuff, I'm like, well, great for them. I hope they kick the shit out of her.
It's not a fair fight, and that's happened. And they almost killed her.
Nobody has to sign up for a fight they don't want to take. I mean,
well, it's like either you fight or you give up your whole career. Right, you fight a man, or you give up your
or a title. I mean, you give up a title. I mean, I don't think that there are so many women fighters or transgender fighters that basically the non-transgender fighters can't fight anybody. What the heck am I hearing?
Oh, it's vibration.
Oh, your phone. Sound like a fart.
It's a California congressman.
Alex didn't join us. I thought he was going to, since he was going to tell me to shut up to my face.
He doesn't have anything worthwhile.
That's pretty heated.
He's got nothing to do. So.
I was going on about that one. If I saw you in person, I would tell you to shut up to your face.
Well, actually, the one long conversation I did have with him was over. Actually, it wasn't even me. I just I think I posted 2 things, and then people who were on his side came in and told him how wrong he was and how stupid his views. He said an embryo was not a human life. not human life. Whether or not it's a baby or not is a different thing. But he said it's not a human life, and he believed in the violinist theory. So I didn't even
human thing. I mean, beyond
it's
that,
it's a life.
Person is a different matter.
He said it's not a life. So well, it's kind of
no
scientist is going to say it's not a life. So, anyways, that was a long time ago. As far as the women's thing goes, like I mentioned, the equal pay. There's really just no difference. There are no so-called rights or anything that men have that women don't have. There's
because there's some places where we can take our shirts off and they can't.
Okay, but I would say if you're
that?
going to kind of go there, it's take the pants off too. Then, like, why can't we take our pants off? And then women can take their
pants off in public, but you can't.
Yeah, but I'm saying that if you say, okay, women should be able to take their shirts off, then the reason women shouldn't be able to take their shirts off in public is the same reason men and women can't take their pants off. Their pants and underwear and everything, right? Walking around naked.
No, I think that is different because the pants, like if you sat down on a park bench, you would excrete things onto the park bench. Your asshole.
Well, I do with the shirt off too. I mean, I don't
think your shirt does it quite as much as your asshole. I don't think we want to sit on the bench. Asshole been on the bench.
So we can say you could walk around pantsless, you just can't sit down. But that, I mean,
yeah, then I don't think
I would say that quite clearly there's a difference between men's torso and women's torso. Right? I mean, the only thing I commented on this.
Well, they can take their shirts off here. Just you'll probably never see one that's attractive with their shirt off.
Right.
Yeah, you news calling it.
In places where they have legalized toplessness, I think New York City now is legal. Hardly anyone does it. I mean, people are still going to follow a cultural taboo ahead of the law. I mean, I can take my shirt off in public if I don't do it.
You got to fit a bra.
Yeah, I mean,
the skin. It's got to fit like a glove, right? You guys remember that?
They don't.
My girlfriend just
they don't know that you can go to a swimming pool
or Seinfeld episode. She wore a bra in public, and that would have been scandalous back then.
I would say though that men probably would get in more trouble. Would probably get in more trouble wearing thongs in a place where a woman would be allowed to wear a thong.
Yeah, I can't wear a string bikini, right? Men
maybe
unless you're rather compact.
If you're two, then maybe they wouldn't get you for it. If they're like, you arrest me for wearing my thong, I'm going to sue you for gender discrimination because there's a woman over there wearing a thong.
Yeah.
Maybe get away with it then. But
a guy I know sent me a picture. He was grossed out. There's a guy, he had body paint on his unit, right? So that was the only thing he was wearing was thongs and body paint on his cock and balls, right?
Right.
And I think that would be but that was in Seattle, and it was during the solstice parade when women can go topless, and they do, right? I don't know if there's anything to see that you'd want to see there, but I think there is a clear difference between men and women.
Right. This doesn't have to be broadcast, so I don't have to show you an article, but tonight, I think tonight's Joe Biden's speech at the convention. Have you guys watched the convention at all? I think it's been absolutely boring.
I've been watching it. I've just had I'm grieving right now actually, so I haven't turned it on tonight. I have been watching it.
Yeah, I watched a little bit Monday, and I was disappointed. It looked like a telethon for some depressing thing because it's no live crowd. It has there's no energy to it like a normal.
Did you watch the finish?
What's that?
Did you watch the finish when they went out on There's Something Happening Here?
What's that?
They did There's Something Happening Here. I don't know what the name of that song is.
Yeah,
I think it was a really awful.
Playing on the green screen.
Yeah, it was one of the worst.
Terrible. He looks so goofy. I don't know that band. Is that the original band that wrote that song?
No, I think it's Clapton. I think he was on there. The original writer was
that guy was really goofy looking.
Somebody else was singing it, yeah. Or faking it.
Pretty goofy looking, going dancing around to that in the green screen.
Yeah, I've just seen clips of people making fun of the really awfulness of the whole thing.
It's like in a commercial, pretty much.
Basically, every prominent candidate that ran against Joe Biden was invited to speak, but Tulsi Gabbard.
And actually, It's, AOC seconded the Bernie Sanders nomination. I did see the clip of that.
Did she? That's interesting.
Yeah, they gave her 60 minutes.
Well, that's ballsy, I guess, a little bit.
I think she actually had to because of the number of delegates or something. That's what Robert said. So she endorses Biden, but because somebody had to give those delegates to Sanders, that's really what that was about. It was just a formal thing. It wasn't like an actual like you shouldn't vote for Biden. You should.
She didn't endorse. She's not supporting him really, but she's sort of. But I don't think in her whole speech
she was supporting him
Biden at all.
But she was supporting him when he was running.
Well, she's supporting him against Trump, but she's not.
No, I mean
Bernie 60 seconds, huh?
Bernie Sanders. I mean, she was supporting Bernie Sanders when he was.
Yeah, and she still is. I mean, but she never said anything about a Biden in her 60 seconds she was given. I don't think she said anything about him. I think that was one of the things. And then she finished.
I mean, it's normal that candidates.
Roberts is saying it was a formal thing. It was somebody had to give those delegates, and that's.
Well, I'm just saying that she never endorsed Biden in her whole. Right. She just went on about whatever. I don't remember.
I don't think
Biden is definitely more mainstream than he is by far. So.
I don't think it's that scandalous when some politicians don't really come out and publicly endorse the candidate who ended up winning the primary. I mean, that's not that abnormal. And I don't know what didn't Ted Cruz.
She is. I mean, we would say rather extreme, right? As far as the left.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Far left.
She's the future of the Democrat Party. Biden is the past, and Harris is kind of a placeholder.
Well, I mean, they look like the voters that they want, the DNC wants.
I don't know all of AOC's stances, but AOC is a socialist, or she's more socialistic than another. But Kamala Harris is more authoritarian. She has more authoritarian social policies, and Joe Biden is a moderate and more pro-war than those other two. So
yeah,
wings and Biden in the Democratic Party that it's kind of hard to say more liberal than the others because it kind of means some kind, different things because there's so many different stances going on different subjects.
Well, Biden is really whatever the last person told him, I think, because I think it's pretty clear Biden's not there. We say not all there, but I don't think there's really much there at all as far as Biden goes.
I know, Julie.
Was he running for U.S.?
Looking sideways. You got a disagreement here, I think.
I mean, I disagree. I'm not quite sure what you mean. That's why I was kind of.
I mean, his mental. He's got dementia.
Kind of like he's Sleepy Joe or whatever.
Oh, not just Sleepy Joe. Okay, so if I was talking like this, right, and the whole time I just kind of went like this. I mean, it's pretty obvious he's trying to read stuff. Like, what should I say? Right? He's got people in his ear. He doesn't really know where he is. He gets things confused. He stood up and said, "My name's Joe Biden. I'm running for U.S. Senate, United States Senate. If you like me, look me up. Take a look at me. If you like me, vote for me. If not, okay." That was one of his big announcements that he made about a couple months ago.
I mean, I've seen the commercials on YouTube that Trump's doing. I mean, I don't think, is there a way to prove though that he's actually not cognizant, or maybe he's just making some errors?
He won't do anything. He's got, and as far as the double standard goes, the guy's, hey, why don't you take a cognitive test? And he gets on TV and with an interviewer who's black, he said, well, why don't you take a cocaine test? And then of course he said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And all
these people have
Biden, like traditional Biden. I understand that, but
he's only 3 years older than Trump.
Right. I'm going to be voting for Joe Biden.
Right, but it's not age. It's not age.
Some of his gaffes are a little worse, I think.
I mean, again, he got his wife.
I never really supported. Like, I don't. I mean, like, I don't really have like a strong opinion like for him. Like I support him over Trump, but that's really more what it is. I think
10 years ago, Biden would not be the worst candidate, right? So I think as far as the Democrats go, Biden is relatively okay. But I don't think Biden is going to be doing anything, and I don't think Biden lasts the year. Trump once said, Biden's not going to be president, going to put him in a home, and they're going to be running the show, and that's exactly what I think is going to happen. Is that Biden?
Maybe it seemed that way before all this COVID stuff, but I just don't see Trump making a comeback, especially since it's going to be on domestic policy, and that's where Biden's going to get Trump. And I mean, I just say that from like a political science standpoint, not even my own opinion. So, sorry.
Biden hasn't even gone outside hardly. He just locked away in his base. He is the beneficiary of the COVID lockdowns.
Here's a short video on some gaps with Biden.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I know we don't see that the same way, but generally I would agree that because of COVID that Biden is going to pull ahead. It's more because I don't think that people are happy just from a political science standpoint. This would be that's my opinion too. But I think when you look at the polls, people aren't happy with the response to COVID, and that was really the tipping point, because before Trump was ahead in the polls, and Biden doesn't really seem like a very strong personality or candidate, but now that it really is like a total game changer.
Right. If they had to campaign, Biden does not stand a chance. Biden wins only because he doesn't have to go outside. He can sit in front of a computer and sleep through an interview and read stuff like this, right? Because this is how he does his interviews.
But if we're really debating, like we want to have if you wanted to make it like a left and right thing, somebody could say that Ronald Reagan didn't know what the hell he was doing, and when he was in the White House, out there,
he campaigned. He was very clear. He was called the communicator. He could speak. Right. So there's no question.
There's people who say like he doesn't remember things that were going on, and that people were just making the decisions for him, and that sort of thing. And he's the face on the camera, and that was it. Sorry. I
think that was just the Iran-Contra.
Joe Biden.
I think it was later in his career.
It was
later on.
Reagan seemed pretty sharp in '80, but not in '84. When
later on, it happened while he was in office. Like he got Alzheimer's, and he was already elected, and so it kind of it happened that way.
Here's some video of Joe Biden's gaffes. It's not very long, so we'll just watch it.
It's a 45-minute video if you want to watch all the gaffes. It's 45 minutes long. Yeah, so the thing.
Bill for nonviolent crime. My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for
the
United States Senate. What's not to like about Vermont in terms of the beauty of it? And what a neat town. Play the radio. Make sure the television. Make sure you have the record player on at night. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. We choose science over fiction. We choose truth over facts.
I think this is real.
Think about it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the thing. 150 million people have been killed since 2007 when
75 million women back in the workforce.
Gun manufacturers some liability. It would put 720 million back. Back in the
twice the U.S. population.
People like Margaret Thatcher. Excuse me. You had people like the former chairman and leader of the party in Germany. Legs that turn blonde in the sun, and the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down, so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Thanks, Corn Pop.
Like his strange hold on Defense Secretary Ash Carter's wife, Stephanie.
And see, I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talk about it.
And so the younger generation now tells me how tough things are. Give me a break. No. I have no empathy for it. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
It was near the end of the
Biden
for president.
He wants to fight people left and right. He wants to take them outside.
We're starting to uncover,
accusations. The one where he's in the factory, the AR-14, whatever that is.
IQ than you do, I suspect.
and I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours.
I hear he lied about his.
In America. No man has a right to raise a hand to a woman in anger. And so we have to just change the culture, period, and keep punching at it and punching at it and punching.
And what do voters believe that you can win the national election?
I was a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
I don't know what that is.
Look, here's the deal.
Fatso.
This video isn't really showing gaffes that are dementia related, though. There's some that are, but not all of them.
But I think the
one
fact
there where he is blubbering about his leg, that is real. Like, I take care of people with dementia, and that is certainly dementia talking. I mean, he's trying to talk about getting I'm getting a little bit of a blunder trying to think of it, but he's trying to talk about goosebumps crawling up his leg when a kid was crawling up his leg, and the way he was going about it, was just
dementia, because Joe Biden wants to go out and take everybody outside and fight him. He's like in the factory about the AR-14, right?
Right.
I don't know if anybody knows what that is. Doesn't exist.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've never heard of AR-14.
Yeah, so he wanted to talk about his AR-14 he wants to take away, and the guy, obviously AR-15, but that Biden calls it an AR-14, and he says, hey, let's go out. He wants to take him outside and punch him or something, right? And he's like a 25, 30-year-old guy, and here's Biden, 72, wants to go fight him. Like, come on. And he's done that with several people. He wants to take Trump outside, I think he said once.
Yeah, that debate. Are they having a debate, or is that not happening?
Biden's people say they will, but there's a lot in Washington Compost and CNN. People are telling Biden not to debate. Don't debate him. And so I don't know if they'll have a debate. I don't think they will.
I think they should, but regardless of what happens, though, I think Hillary won the debates against Trump, and it didn't make any difference, really. I mean, her polls didn't go up from winning. I don't think people watch them.
Yeah, they don't have the showman skills that Trump has. I think he'd be forced to not debate.
Trump had some serious blows, right? That really riled up people, and Hillary was not likable, and obviously Trump. Half the Republicans didn't like Trump either. But some of the things in the debates, he threw some serious punches, right? He said, she said if I was president, or if Donald Trump was president, he's like, you'd be in jail, right? And things like that. One-liners.
I think that made him look bad, not her.
No, I think that one, the whole audience erupted in laughter.
I think they were more going, whoa. I don't think they were clapping.
Nelson, I think I might have mentioned this to you like in a text debate or something before, but are you aware that it's actually illegal for him to run on the other, like his agenda cannot be like my opponent is a criminal, and that's actually against the rules. So you can't run on like throwing your opponent in jail. Like that's actually against the rules. So I agree. So for that reason, I would agree with.
What do you mean though? Running to throw my opponent in jail?
Yeah, you can't run on the idea of like your opponent being a crook. It's in the Constitution. I forget where exactly, like the clause or whatever. But yeah,
I'm pretty confident that's not true.
I could look at my brother. My brother is an attorney. Has told me that.
You can look it up and share.
I'm like absolutely.
I know. I trust my brother. I would have to look at it. I can't remember.
Whether it is or not, that's kind of
that person in jail. But
Nelson,
that's whether you did, right?
Nelson, whether it is or not, it's a little untoward if you're kind of threatening or throw your opponent in jail if they're being a little too.
I mean, he wasn't threatening to throw her in jail. He was just pointing out, he called her crooked Hillary, and he had a lot of these one-liners where he's saying, hey, if I was president, we'd investigate. Obviously, he became president. He didn't throw her in jail, right?
He said if he was president, he'd throw her in jail.
No. He said, she said if you were Donald Trump was president, he said you'd be in jail.
He said that.
Which was not saying if I'm president, I'm going to throw you in jail. What he was doing was he was referring to crooked Hillary and the crime she committed, which
so he was suggesting that she should be in jail.
Suggesting she should be in jail.
I don't know.
He's not running that if I'm elected, I will throw her in jail.
That's sure as hell what it sounded like to me.
I think it's how people were interpreting it. Yeah,
I don't think anybody
on the
interpreted
idea of
it.
putting her.
Hillary supporters might have, but I don't think anybody actually
I think
thought.
the general public did.
Well, I mean, I
I
was
don't think
really
there's
against Hillary.
anybody that thought. I don't think Hillary supporters actually thought that either, but I don't think there's anybody that thought, oh, if Trump gets elected, he's just going to go out and he's going to send his Secret Service to go throw her in jail, because that can't happen. And there's no reason to think it would have happened. And he didn't. I mean, when he got elected, he didn't. The idea was if he's elected, he'll have the attorney general or something investigate, were there actual crimes, right?
I think he still can't do that, though. He can't even. They can investigate it for sure, but he can't. He can't run on them doing that. I think that's what he did say. Actually,
This is what he said. This is the actual quote, the actual video of the actual moment. Okay.
Fact check him in real time. Last time at the first debate, we had millions of people fact checking. So I expect we'll have millions more fact checking because, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Donald Trump because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Yeah, so there you go. That's just an innuendo one-liner, right? Saying you committed crimes. If I was president, they would have been investigated, not brushed under the rug. He did not say, and he didn't even imply, if I
were president. He was careful to put that if I was president.
I don't think that only Hillary supporters would interpret it the way that I'm saying that Julie and I are saying that should be seemed interpreted to us.
Yeah, that's
and those weren't just applause; those were also like, whoa! Those were like, a lot of those reactions were like, whoa! What the hell did you just say?
Hillary sucks, dude. She's a bitch.
You guys hear that was my girlfriend talking.
Hello? Hey, hang on. Sorry. Hello? Yeah. Hi.
It's kind of he's just he's not here to defend himself, but he's just like the apologist for the Republicans. No matter what happens.
Yeah. We can't convince Nelson. There's no way.
It's okay. It's all right. But I'm like, okay, Joe Biden seems a little off to me, and a little, but I try to be even-handed, about each thing. And obviously, he said, "Yeah, I was going to throw you in jail if you become president."
Anybody's better than Trump.
Honey, you come here and you say that. You come here. No one's watching anyway. Huh? My girlfriend's laying on the floor offering her opinion. She says anybody's better than Donald Trump. Is Joe Biden better than Donald Trump, honey?
I don't know.
She does. I don't know. Well, that's the choice, though. You got to pick either Biden or Donald Trump.
Donald Trump needs to get shot.
Donald Trump needs to get shot, she says.
Yeah, well, I'd say he's better on domestic policies. I don't know about foreign policy. Like all the war hawks are actually going for Biden. I think that's
I would think Joe Biden is more of a war hawk than Donald Trump, which is sad.
Yeah. Well, there's no question about it. I mean, Donald Trump tried to get the troops home. I think it really doesn't matter. Like Joe Jorgensen is kind of a bumbling idiot, I think. But she's saying, "Oh, the first day they'll all come home." I'm like, it's not going to happen. Even if hell freezes over and the Libertarian candidate wins, she's not doing that. She's not bringing the troops home on day one. It's not possible.
Who's saying that?
Huh?
Who said that?
Oh, the Libertarian candidate.
Well, I think they asked Ron Paul the same question, and he said that he realizes it's not possible to bring them all home.
He said he didn't think he would live long.
Sorry?
He said he didn't think he would live long.
When he was running for president, they asked him that question, and he said, "Well, I know I couldn't do it day one, but I would do it as soon as possible."
Well, you could sign the paper on day one.
Yeah, well, this means like day one, I'm signing the paper, but not like I'm bringing the troops. I realize we can't just leave or whatever.
So he said he would like to withdraw them slowly, obviously, but he also in an interview much more recent. Within the last couple of years, he has said that reasonably, if he did try to do a lot of the things that he had run on, that he didn't think he would live long. Somebody would have, the amount of money that goes into this, the billions of dollars that are up for play, he's implying there are a lot of people that probably would have John F. Kennedy'd him or something like that.
A lot of people would be angry.
And there would be a lot of people with a lot of money and a lot of political sway that either he would be removed from office or he would be carried out of office, if you know what I mean. So that's what Ron Paul said in an interview.
Well, I mean, they obviously didn't want him to actually be elected. He was certainly is like a figurehead, pretty much. I mean, I don't agree. I would say
The idea of the deep state and people who actually control things a lot more than even the president, because the president can only be there for 8 years, right? Even if he's reelected. But there are people that have been in there for 40 years and they know everybody, right? And they have a lot of control over what goes on, what actually happens within departments. So when Trump was there, I mean, you had a lot of people saying that they were secretly undermining everything he did. And there were people in the White House that were taking stuff off his desk so he couldn't sign them. There were people bragging about that.
The military industrial complex, though, if the United States pulled out of foreign wars, they could still make enough money giving weapons to Israel and places like that. These days, it's a little different now than it was in the 60s.
Well, Iraq, they've spent what, 2-3 trillion or something? I mean, it's $1 trillion.
Over 3 trillion, actually.
Huh?
3 trillion and counting.
Yeah. So I mean, that's $3 trillion, right? So that's a lot. That's a lot of money. Like, would you kill over $1 trillion? Not that there's one person making the money, but there is one person who's making a lot of money. And there's a lot of
defense contractors. I mean, the House and Senate didn't have any trouble passing a new bills for any of that stuff. With all, with everything that's going on with the controversy over the pandemic or whatever, they couldn't pass a bill, but they had no trouble whatsoever passing defense spending bills in the same sessions.
Yeah, I mean, they never do, right? There was never really any problem.
There's no opposition, and it wasn't even really reported in the media either that the defense bills sailed straight through before they even talked about any of that other stuff.
Yeah, do you watch House of Cards? Have you ever watched that show?
No, I don't really watch too many shows.
Well, it jumped the shark for a little while. But I liked it. I liked it at the beginning, and then it kind of
yeah. I only saw like the first 4 seasons, so
you didn't see the end when he wasn't on the show anymore?
No.
What they did in the last season is basically they said he died. He had a heart attack or some shit.
Yeah, I did see.
His wife was president, and then they just
before he died, she became president, I think, right?
Yeah, but then she she kept the office. It was like a temporary thing, and then she ended up keeping it or whatever. But then in the last season, it was just like a murder after another murder and after another murder. They try to keep it interesting by having a lot of sensationalistic crap happening just like all the time.
Well, yeah. So the point I was making is, remember, I think it was season 1, the congressman, he ran that he was going to save the military base. And then Kevin Spacey's character, Frank Underwood, the president, comes back and says, nope, that you got to say that base is closing. And he gets drunk because he's so depressed, the congressman, that he lied. And these people are angry and they're going to close it in his district. And he gets drunk and Frank Underwood locks him in his car and CO him, right? Carbon monoxides him and makes it look like a suicide, but he murdered him. And it was over a similar thing to what we're talking about here. So
the show started off. What I liked about the show, just to comment on the show, because I love the show. I'm a TV critic kind of person, but I love the show initially because it started slow. Like it started like, we're going to watch this guy's career kind of build up until he becomes president. And then in the second season, it all happened too fast. Like in the first season, it looked like we were going to follow this guy as senator for a long time because it's slowly kind of crawling his way up. But then when it started, he was president. It was like, okay, where do we go from here? And from there, it was just like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I liked the first 1 or 2 seasons. It's like Scandal. I liked Scandal for a season or 2, and then it just got crazy. So
just bad writing.
Yeah, I think they had like good ideas, a good baseline, and then it's kind of. I never watched Lost either. but I think I watched the first season, and people said that there was kind of a show built for one season, and then they're like, "Oh my God, what do we do now? We have a second season to write." So we have nothing. We have no ideas. We did everything in the first season.
So Kamala Harris is the selected person to be Joe Biden's running mate. That's the other big news since last time we were live, and my girlfriend just called her a bitch. Honey, why are you saying she's a bitch?
That. What's going on? Oh,
my girlfriend's over here sitting on the floor, and she just called Kamala Harris a bitch. Why do you think Kamala Harris is a bitch, honey? If you're going to say that off camera, you better show your face and tell the world why you think she's a bitch.
I don't have to show my face.
Well, you made the accusation that she's a bitch, so show your face.
The Colbert clip, he asked her, so you called Joe Biden a racist, right? You said Joe Biden is, and he is. I mean, by
what she said was, Joe, I'm not saying you're racist, but blah 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 blah. And I'm like, why did that even have to come up? Why did you even have to bring up whether he was a racist or not?
And I mean, by modern definition, he's absolutely is, right? He said blacks are a monoculture, like they're all the same. Unlike blacks who all vote exactly the same way in every way, right? Hispanics are not. That's what he said.
I don't know.
The other thing, if you ain't black, or you ain't black if you don't vote for me. So he's views them as a single view.
But isn't there a way to say black where you're kind of talking about the culture too? Like, like you ain't black unless you.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily racist.
But if Trump said that, what would happen? We would still hear on video.
Trump. I would take it the same. I would take it the same way that he's talking about black, but interests of black people.
But you would never hear the end of it on the media and in society.
Well, it wouldn't make it
either one of those things.
Don't vote for him.
I mean, he never said anything actually racist, but they're outright calling him one in the.
He did, yes, he did. Wait a second. Donald Trump has said some things that I would say are racist, and I'm kind of conservative about using that word. But he said a Mexican people, it kind of insinuated that immigrants are going to be rapists and murderers and things like that.
Again, if you listen to, he was talking about illegal immigrants, right?
And
so he's not talking about immigrants. He's not saying Mexicans. He was saying, like, if you think of the Cuban, it was Castro came to power,
right? It was specifically in reference to the border wall.
He's saying they're sending, right?
But
he said they're sending.
One thing, it's not true that they're likely to be murderers or rapists or.
He said, so the way what I remember is he said they're sending, right? So think about what happened in Cuba when Castro took power. He actually sent rapists and murderers. He opened the prisons. He said, "You want Cubans to go to the U.S.? Here you go," and he sent them, right? So there were a lot of great Cubans, by the way. I mean, Ted Cruz's father was one of the guys in prison that was able to flee to the U.S., right? So I'm not saying they all are, but he wasn't saying all of them, every single one that comes in. He's saying that a lot of them are. So there are ones, is what he was saying. I mean, obviously Trump, he's not super specific. In some cases, he is super specific. There's good people on both sides. He was talking about the people that were protesting the tearing down of the monuments, and he was talking about the people that were protesting the other side, right? And then, of course, on each side, there were terrible people.
Obviously, I always interpret that as he just meant there were people there and they were just protesting.
So here's what he
did.
Right? Was he talking about Antifa? Oh yeah, Antifa's great, and
it's amazing what you can accomplish with 140 characters. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 most outrageous Donald Trump tweets.
What I was saying,
in the 1920s.
It's not at the beginning, so I'm skipping over to it. Okay.
So there's nothing racist about this because he's not talking about the Chinese people. He's talking about the CC.
No, I'm not talking about Chinese right now. We're talking about the Mexican. So
but I'm saying what you played on the screen there.
Yeah, let me just play this clip just a moment.
Discontent and riling up the masses, quite like Donald J. Trump.
Nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is. I don't know.
Shortly after reports surfaced claiming students at Hampshire College were
Just a
burning
second. I think this is not the video I want to. Yeah, here we go.
Say one thing about Donald Trump. He sure has people talking. Trump is enraging many people with his remarks about Mexican immigrants.
They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. And some, I assume, are good people.
How can you succeed when you say things like that?
Well, you can't, again, Gail, the question.
I don't know. You don't consider that a problem? They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. Some are good people. That's kind of what you say about, what racist people used to say about black guys. I met a guy at work.
No, I mean, that's not, he's not saying Mexicans. He was talking about people that are illegally coming into the country, and they are, and he's also, I think his little side note there was, I think the way he said it was not great, but no, I don't think that there's no reason to believe he acted. And actually, a lot of people of Mexican heritage, a lot of immigrants actually like him. So I don't see how they, being from Mexico, if they thought that he was calling them rapists, murderers, or maybe he thought they were just among the few good ones or something. But no, I don't think most actually took it that way.
But let's just say that he's talking about just immigrants. Don't you think that's a little ignorant?
He's not talking about immigrants, though, right?
But illegal immigrants are not, they're not prone to be rapists or murderers or drug dealers or any more than anybody else.
Well, obviously they do commit the crime of coming.
That crime, but they're prone to, they're actually less likely to commit crimes.
Well, that's not true. I mean, they're the likelihood, as far as the numbers and the statistics there, it is higher than the general American population.
What's higher?
Look, I'm not against. I'm not against the Mexican immigrants either.
Okay. But I'm just talking about statistically, that's wrong, though. Statistically, from all I've heard about or looked into this, immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than ordinary citizens. I'm talking about crimes other than the immigration.
Immigrants or illegal immigrants. That's
illegal immigrants are less likely to commit
I think
crimes.
it's usually they're talking about immigrants in the numbers, but from the statistics that I have seen, it's the other way around. Illegal immigrants.
I've heard that legal immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than ordinary citizens.
That's false.
Well, how do you know, honey? Have you looked into it?
It's called news. It's called watch news.
You watch the news.
And back to my original point, though, of Biden, Harris. Obviously, there's the Border Patrol, the truth, so-called, what do you know, fact check, whatever. Did she call him a racist? No, she didn't say, Joe Biden, you're a racist, right? She didn't say that. She said, Joe Biden, I don't want to call you a racist, but you don't like black people, right? That's kind of almost what she said. And basically. So it's like, no, she didn't say he was, but that was clear. And then he asked her about that. So Colbert, right, asked her on his show a question so obvious, even he had to ask it. And you remember what did you guys see what her response was? She cackled and said it was a debate. But she's just saying, nothing I say in a debate is real. Like, I can't believe you're so foolish to take things that I said in the debate as serious. Like, why are you so serious? Of course, I don't mean anything I've ever said.
I got on her when she said that. I've always freaking hated her, but that's when I started hating her. And then I heard about, and hate's a strong word, but I'm a strong guy. But
aged person.
And when Tulsi was bringing out all this other crap she had done as a prosecutor and all this kind of other stuff, I looked into her more, and now I freaking can't stand the bitch.
No, I think she's a little psychotic. I think she's power hungry. That's all she cares about, right? She has no principles. She was a prosecutor, and she saw a lot of people standing there, and she thought these would make great steps, right? She walked right over them, and it doesn't look good when you have someone let out of prison for false accusations and false convictions. And so she did what she could to keep them in prison, and all the stuff that Tulsi Gabbard brought out.
So there's some stuff that she's done about freedom of speech, against freedom of speech.
Oh yeah, she is against everything. I mean, she wants to get rid of the Second Amendment. She wants to get rid of the First Amendment.
Harris demanded that Twitter suspend President Donald Trump's account, arguing that Trump was threatening the whistleblower, blah, 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 but whatever. That's not the federal government's job to be telling Twitter what to tell, to stop people from voicing their opinions. If I want to look at Donald Trump's Twitter page, that's my choice. If I don't,
a photo.
Well, Reason had a good video on her too, on her criminal conviction records and the stuff she did as a prosecutor, a DA in California.
This is the most alarming thing she said. I'm scanning out here. Talking about Tulsi here.
Well, she does. I mean, she does want the government to check your speech and what you say.
Right. She says, but she basically, if she becomes president, she's going to prosecute. Okay. Harris has no problem with utilizing the power of the state to violate other civil liberties, including freedom of speech. She has promised that if she becomes president, her administration will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms. Although, as Harris knows, so-called hate speech is in fact protected by the First Amendment. This is kind of a column, not so much a news article, but as you can see by the language. But yes, she can't sit there and try to pressure social media platforms into stopping hate speech. I mean, think of what the world would be like, or at least what the internet would be like, if Facebook were more thorough in the kind of stuff that they were demanding of the people that are on there.
So yeah, actually, a couple of weeks ago, Gregory was talking about we need some like centrally planned fact checker to make sure that everything on the internet is fact checked and everything you read and see is filtered through some central planner. And Facebook sort of is doing that, is my point, and it's horrible. The UK, Chaz came in and said, "Oh, it's great the UK does it." Well, it's terrible because the UK only gets one specific view of everything. And but Facebook fact checked because somebody came and said, "Hey, look, John Lewis, they're not Soviet distancing, right?" And Facebook so-called fact checked and said false. But you look at the picture, they're shoulder to shoulder. And so Facebook's so-called fact checkers are just purely one-sided political hacks.
I'm capable of looking up any source anybody brings up. I've never had an issue with that where I had to believe something because someone posted it on the internet.
Yeah.
We can all look it up and see who's saying it, and we can fact check ourselves. We don't need them to be our freaking mommies.
Yeah, you don't need some like Walter Cronkite to tell you what to think and how to think it and when to think it.
But think about us. We probably all of us, and Julian too. I know you definitely have, Nelson, but Julian, you've been suspended from Facebook, haven't you?
No, I've never even had a.
Oh wow! Wow, you're the only person.
Not for posting something false, but
for any opinion you
true. I mean, they posted something that was absolutely true, no question about it.
But I've been suspended. But most of the people think of those same people that would be in charge of suspending us from Facebook would be the same kind of people that will be in charge of monitoring speech in America and deciding what's hate speech and what's not. These things are always misunderstood. People are always take the comments out of context when they get suspended. I mean, 90% of the time that's what's happening.
And that's what happened with mine. Yeah.
Right. It's always taking it out of context. You're responding to something somebody else said or trying to make some kind of point, and someone's reporting it, that's hate speech. Like you're saying.
You can't appeal anything either. Like, have you ever tried?
They've taken all these accounts down. I know they take a lot of accounts down on social media, especially YouTube. I mean, without even giving people a reason or whatever, they just decide that they don't want that up anymore and just pull the whole thing.
Yeah. So when I say to people who talk about things like this freedom of speech issue, I just try to convey to them, what do you think it would be like if that were more thorough? Like, what do you think if they had like more people involved in the censoring? And so that as soon as you posted anything, it was read and reviewed and, and maybe deleted. If that was more thorough, we'd be banned or suspended all the freaking time. Every time we posted anything. Imagine Qual had a person that was checking it, reading it every day. the call out Facebook group, or all the Facebook groups we had, if we had a person reading it.
It reminds me of 1984. I don't know if you remember what Winston's job in 1984 was. He would read newspaper articles and then change the story and then destroy the old article. So,
right. Remove words and remove history.
I do not trust Kamala Harris. One thing, hate speech is protected. You know, if you want to be hateful, whatever.
It's the only kind of speech that's protected. Like love speech, nobody's crying about that. So,
well, you know, as Jesse Ventura said, and I think he's quoting Thomas Jefferson, so I'm not really sure about this, but popular speech doesn't need any protection. Only subversive or unpopular speech needs protection. That's the whole point of the amendment. You know, First Amendment doesn't need to protect popular speech or speech that's pleasant.
We love babies, right? Babies are cute and adorable. And like, oh, you know, who's gonna flag you for that? Like, no reasonable person. We need to protect that kind of speech.
Right. You can't be you can't be push the envelope or talk about controversial issues without offending some people. It's just, you know, it's just the nature of the beast. And I you know, there is some speech I'd say that is hateful, but I'm not trusting Kamala Harris to decide what that is. She'd be saying this radio chat would be out against the law if she was watching this. Damn straight. He called her a bitch twice.
Yeah, so you're gone. I mean, you're canceled.
This would not be allowed to happen if she was watching this.
Excuse me, everybody. That is not going to be allowed. I've got an official here, and we're going to ban your Facebook page.
The Harris administration.
But she's a heartbeat away. Anyway, she is 1 week. If Joe Biden wins, she is 1 week heartbeat away from the presidency.
Well, I predict the Republican will win in 4 years. Not this time, but in 4 years, because of her.
Hopefully, I don't know. I think because they're going to have DC is going to be another state, and they're going to have 4 years. You're going to have insanity flowing.
Well,
I predict COVID goes away. I mean, they even said in November that it'll go away. I think November 5th.
I wouldn't agree with you on that. I think it's going to be more like five years.
I think the media
longer
about it will go away. But no,
the media is 10 times worse than what the media is telling us.
Huh?
It's worse. It's worse than what the media is telling us.
Oh no, it's not. It's not even close to what the media is telling us. We should debate this. You know that every death with COVID, including George Floyd, is considered a COVID death in most states. Oregon.
I've never heard that before.
What is it?
I really doubt that Ohio. Like when I read the statistics, I really doubt that they're just reporting everyone who died.
Everybody who died.
The numbers aren't even. I mean, I think it's less than 10,000 people here. I'm sure that more than 10,000 people have died in the time span. So I kind of find that hard to believe.
Supposedly, what 300? What's the number? 300 or something?
You mean in the United States or just in total?
So I'll give you an example. In Washington, there were 5 people listed as COVID deaths who actually died of gunshot wounds. 2 were suicide, but they were listed as a COVID death because they had COVID when they died.
Okay, but that's got to be like a really small number of people, though.
No, it's everybody who dies is tested, and if they had COVID, they are listed as a COVID death.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, that can't really fudge the numbers up that much. I mean, what if they knew they were going to die anyway? They decided I'd rather shoot myself in some
number by 25% just about 2 months ago. They took 25% of the death numbers off the books. And if you look at the other 75%, what the average age of death by COVID is?
It's older, or was older. I know it's younger now, I think.
No, it's about 78 to 80 years old.
Yeah.
So your life. We talked about life.
So the thing is, the thing is, the reason I think it's going to take like 5 years, is because no matter, I mean, if you're right or I'm right, it doesn't really matter. The impact of it, it's already happened, and
I think it's the fear, right? So if
I think the fear could be worse. I think because look, it's the 19th version of this, so it's already happened 19 times. and just the way that it's spreading, that there's no control over the spread. As far as there like being a vaccine, I think that's.
But it's
not.
I
don't believe that at all.
Is my point. Like it's similar to the flu. It's not the flu. It's a cold virus. The vaccine is not going to work.
But people are dead though. I mean, they're dying. They're dead. I think it's probably people like in nursing homes and stuff. But still, I mean, it's going to knock out a large number of people.
I mean, we can point to Sweden that no masks, no mask mandates, muzzles, right? No masked Nazis running around. Sweden had. No, they weren't locked down. They didn't force people to stay inside, which is actually deadly. It does make it deadly because if your vitamin D deficiency.
Well, I think it's a cultural thing. I think here in the United States, a lot of people, they just couldn't give up their lifestyle. I mean,
well, that's not the case though, because people did. Like they were arresting people for going out on the beach, being all by yourself in the ocean on a surfboard. Guy gets arrested. The police brought in a boat and a jet ski to arrest the guy. Does that make sense?
Well, I don't see that happening in Sweden though. Do you?
No, it didn't happen in Sweden.
That's what I mean. Like it's just a cultural thing.
You would think Americans would have stood up and said, "Oh, we're American." You know, some did, but the state lockdown. It wasn't federal, thankfully. But Biden said he's going to force you when you walk out your door to put on a mask. You're standing in the middle of your yard all by yourself, nobody around. You have to wear a mask. You're fishing in the middle of a river in the middle of Wyoming, nobody within 100 miles, and you have to wear a mask. Right? That's what Biden said.
Yeah, I mean, I think there should be masks. I don't know how far I would go to enforce it. At least until the numbers decline, and then maybe you can talk about not having masks again. Sorry.
We've known for decades. The so-called experts have known for decades that masks and lockdowns make things worse. Right? They've said that.
I don't think it's so much that it would stop you from getting it as it would stop you from spreading it.
The masks people are wearing are spreading it more. Because what they do is they break up the droplets and they disperse them, and this is what just came out this week.
How are they dispersing them though? Because that's why I don't understand how they disperse them though. Because I assume that it's catching the droplets and that.
They don't catch the droplets though. What kind of mask do you wear?
I mean, I just have the surgical one. I think is what it is. I have like a whole bunch of them. The disposable ones. What is it?
The surgical ones. Have you been trained on how to wear them?
Well, there's not much to it. You just make sure that you fit it to your nose.
That people don't wear them right. If you don't wear them right, then you're actually making it worse. Because also, what you do is you're adjusting.
Well, actually, here in Ohio, if someone's not wearing it right, they can actually. It's the same thing as if they're not wearing it. They can force them to wear it right. The way that the governor's doing it here. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. So yeah, basically, like if say you're at work or something and you just put the mask over your mouth and not your nose, but you could actually get reprimanded by your employer for that because that's a violation of the rules for
the office. The stupidity of this is unfathomable because a lot of people work on their own in their office by themselves.
Well, you can, but here in Ohio, actually, you can close the door and take your mask off.
Okay, so in Washington, there are people that are outside cleaning pools by themselves, nobody around. They have to wear a mask.
Well, outside, you're okay. Well, I'll give you outside. That doesn't. You're right. The outside doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, I'm a swimmer and I go and swim outside. No one's wearing a mask, and I think it would be silly.
You have to wear a mask inside by yourself in your office in Washington.
Well, not here in Ohio. I mean, I would say that if you close the door, you take the mask.
Why even have the why don't you leave the door open? And again, even the CDC has said in the beginning, and they're restating it this week, that masks actually are spreading the virus more, specifically because of the mask people wear, like a handkerchief or a. I
think I did see. I mean, if we're thinking of the same study, it actually just said that certain masks weren't really doing anything. Like I think I don't know what you call it. It's kind of like an athletic sock almost. Looks like that you go around. Like those were the ones that they were talking about, not the surgical ones.
Surgical ones, people don't know how to wear them, and they tend to spray out the side. But
people don't wear it right. But I mean, it's not. They know they're not wearing it right though, because it's so easy to wear.
But it's more than that.
They know what they're doing. They're just half wearing it because they don't want to wear it.
Right, but it's more than that. It's even people that do want to wear it don't know how to wear it, and it changes your behavior. So people are willing to get closer. They tend to touch their face a lot more than you otherwise would because it's uncomfortable, right? I mean, masks are they're really ridiculous Stupid optics. People in
Well, I
Norway,
mean, I'm really picky. Like if a tag didn't feel right on my shirt, that would drive me nuts. And I have allergies too, so like I always want to scratch my nose or my eye or something. So, but like the mask hasn't really been that. I'm used to having it on. I'm used to being around, like when I'm around other people having it on. The only time I don't have it on is when I'm at the pool when I'm outside.
like they've
Sorry?
known for decades, lockdowns and masks make it worse. In New York City, 60% of new cases were from people who had not left their house. And all pandemics were coming from indoor situations, people being together. It's viral load. Having the mask on makes you touch your face more than normal. It makes you change your behavior as far as who you're around. And
Well, that's just I know here in Ohio, actually, we were actually really close to going into another lockdown about a month ago because the numbers were just surging and surging.
But that's
then they mandated masks, and then they got like the governor. Like we have a Republican governor, and anyway, he said is basically what he said is I don't want to shut down again, so I'm gonna make everyone wear a mask. If you can't wear the mask, we have to shut down again. So that's
if you look into it, you'll see that there is no. In fact, states that did not lock down and did not mandate masks.
The numbers are down, though, is what I'm saying. So I'm sorry to the numbers have gone down.
Right, because there's like a delay and stuff. But states that didn't require masks and didn't lock down have vastly better results than those that did. In fact, what is it? 50% of deaths, so-called deaths, are from California, New York, and New Jersey, I believe. Right? And those are states that locked down. And they didn't just, hey, you should probably stay inside. They were like, no, everything's closed. You cannot leave your house type thing. In UK, in Europe, the countries that locked down the hardest were hit the worst. Italy, Spain, France, and the UK. The UK said you couldn't go outside a second. You could go outside to exercise for like 30 minutes at most. They were people calling on their neighbors going out for a second run. In fact, in Illinois, somebody in Chicago said, yeah, you exercise, but we're not talking about a 5K here. So you can't run 3 miles, right? So, I mean, the extreme lockdown, and these are states that were much, much worse. In fact, go to tomwoods.com/fact-free lockdowns, I think it is.
Well, I mean, do you get what I'm saying, though? Like, the impact of it, I mean, especially like from an economic standpoint, it's probably going to take like 5 years, and no matter what, like this thing is going to be around for a while, and it's going to impact us a while. So yeah, I think it's going to be like 5 years. It doesn't matter like how severe the virus is or how it spreads, because it could spread through the air. There's people who believe it spreads through the air. Actually, like the droplets just float around in the air.
Do you have it?
I have an article that says that
COVID.
No, I don't have COVID.
Why do you wear a mask? Why do you need to wear a mask?
Because I don't want to spread it. If I did have it and I didn't know that, and I don't want to catch it either.
2 weeks to have it when he would still pass tests though. If he had it for 2 weeks, he would still pass COVID tests.
But he wouldn't pass it. The asymptomatic spreading was pretty much disproven as much as proven can be. By studies in Europe.
I'm healthy now, but I'm not young, and I used to smoke and that sort of thing. So, I mean, I don't smoke now. I haven't smoked in a long time. I'm healthy.
Okay, so shouldn't
I think if I got it, I would know.
Why should I be responsible if I'm not sick? Right? I don't have any reason to wear a mask. I'm not spreading it. Why do I need to wear a mask? So that people who are terrified of their own shadow. I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous in this area. I go run with a friend of mine. I'm not wearing a mask when I'm running. Almost everybody on the trail is walking. It's 80 degrees outside, sunny. They're with gloves and a mask, right? Okay, that's fine. You want to be a lunatic, like a mentally ill person.
Sure, yeah, people think there's no need for them to be wearing the mask and doing all that.
No, but
yes, I see that.
Right? And so why do I need to wear a mask? You're terrified of your own shadow. You can wear a mask. If you're 85 years old, you probably shouldn't be out in the grocery store. They have delivery. They have all that. But people want to go out there, and so they're going to make other people wear masks and gloves and whatever else kind of ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I think it's the person who's taking care of like their mom or dad or whatever, who has to go to the grocery store now, and what if they got it?
I mean, you can get delivery if you're that afraid, right? So there's a lot of things. I mean, I don't know. You might kill somebody on your way to the grocery. You're more likely to kill somebody on the way to the grocery store than you are to die of COVID, by the way. So that it's a risk. You shouldn't be driving either. So how far do we want to take this? Right. And as far as how long this will last, yes, I said back in March, that's it. America's dead. It's never coming back. We're never going to see. I don't know if did you read the LinkedIn article about New York City?
No.
So it's pretty good.
I don't think you can compare COVID. But I don't think you can compare like. I really doubt like the chances of you getting like I think the chances of you dying of COVID like right now are probably higher than getting like an auto accident or something like that.
No, the probability of someone basically under 80 of dying of COVID is about the same as getting into a car wreck and dying.
I don't know about under 80, maybe not like under 60, maybe.
You almost can't
50,
die.
Actually.
You almost can't die of it under 60. If you're under 40, how old are you? You're 40 or so?
I'm going to turn 40 in October.
Okay. So I just turned 40 recently, right?
Yeah,
so,
we're pretty much the same age. Yeah.
Same age, yeah. So we're, I'm pretty healthy. You smoked, so you've got some other things going on.
You're probably in better health than I am. But I mean, like I'm in good health now, but you probably were like while I was smoking, you were probably running and stuff like that.
So why am I, and I think this is a problem that's with the socialism of society, that people think everybody's responsible for everybody. It's kind of like a Brave New World. It's a new TV show. It's like everybody owns everybody. I
think like say somebody somebody isn't healthy though and they're our age.
What was that?
Sorry. Well, like say somebody isn't healthy and they're our age. Like I think they really would have a good chance of dying. Actually, like you might like say that. Because they could already have like high blood pressure, they're smoking all these cigarettes, so their lungs and hearts all messed up from that, or they're drinking, their liver's probably messed up. They eat crap food. They eat all this junk food all the time. And
why, given that they destroyed themselves, am I responsible for their health?
Well, I'm just saying that I'm not saying that you're responsible for that. I'm saying that they probably could. They would be more. I think somebody like that wouldn't do very well against COVID. They would have it.
Right, but the law says
chances of them dying are higher than what you're suggesting.
But the law says I have to give up my freedoms to protect them.
Here's a comment by somebody kind of along these
lines. It's not even
lines.
my freedoms.
I don't think anyone deserves an exception. It's the same thing as like no one's really. There really isn't anyone who's
sick. I should stay home. Right? So I had a guy come up to me in the store and he's like, "Please, sir, put on a mask." And I was like, "No, I'm exempt." And he wants me to show him my health ID card or something. And you can't even ask. But if, first of all, if he walked up to me,
I just think it's rude. Like, it's disrespectful to, like, for me, it's like to go into a store that says I have to wear a mask and not wear one because I feel like I don't have to wear it. But that's like so disrespectful. Like, if it's someone else's house. Like,
I wear it. Well, I wear
rules,
it. Right. I wear it because even if it wasn't the law, because the cashier there may be taking care of her grandma at home, and why should I risk or her mom?
If you think you're going to pass it, the mask is not going to stop you from passing it. It maybe reduces the risk, but like I said, the CDC admits they said that in studies that certain masks that most people wear actually spread it more.
Right. The initial thing they said.
They said it's a one mask.
The initial thing they said, and I think this is probably true, was that this is what they initially said. They said, don't wear a mask initially. They said,
they said it again, though.
They said, don't wear it. Social distancing is what prevents this from spreading. The mask is going to give you a false sense of security, and then you're not going to practice the social distancing.
Yeah, because it changes your behavior.
Right. You need to practice the social distancing. The mask is not going to do it. But I do see people practicing the social distancing and wearing the mask usually.
Right. You got to do both.
I run by these people and they will go to the side of the trail with their mask and their gloves and they will look over the railing until I pass. I'm like,
but I've seen things like this one woman who was in the store, I saw some video and people are yelling at her, wear your mask, wear your mask.
Yeah.
So they're shouting and saliva's coming off their mouths and they're all kind of close to each other.
And this guy came up to me. He came up close to me and said, "Hey, can you put on a mask, sir?" He's just another customer. I told him no. I'm like, what a lunatic. This guy, he's obviously not afraid because he's going to come up and get close to me.
Right.
So
what always irritates me is seeing people. Well, I see sometimes I think it's insane. Is people jogging down the street. Where I live is a rural area. Okay, so I'm talking about jogging down the street. There's no one near you. you're riding a bike. No one's near you, and you got a mask on.
That's what I'm telling him. Is like almost everybody on this urban trail. It's a dirt trail, and it goes. It's really wide, and there's a lot of people walking back and forth. But it's outside. It's sunny. If you come into any somewhat contact, you're still several feet away, and it's in passing, so you cannot catch it in passing, right? But they got their masks and their gloves and everything on. And even in the park, we go to the park here. Half the people walking around the park, they go all the way 20 feet away. They walk around the bushes to avoid you, and they're wearing masks and they're by themselves. There is nobody around.
Well, I haven't seen too much of that. Like if the governor hadn't issued that order, because it was like I would go places and there was nobody wearing a mask or doing any sort of social distancing, like just like a couple of months ago. And then when they finally said like, look, if you guys can't do this, we're going to have to shut down again, then that's fine. Then that's when people really started doing it, and the numbers actually started dropping. Or they haven't gone up. Actually, they didn't really drop. They haven't gone up since.
Well, what I read about this virus, I don't know if there's been an update about this, but I read about it is that it wasn't airborne, and airborne means that it lives in the air. It said it definitely does not live in the air. It's spread by water droplets that come off your saliva or your mucus while you're speaking. And so there's no point in wearing a mask when you're not in the vicinity of other people. That it doesn't make any sense. If you're not within that little social distance, I don't forget what it is, a yard?
6 feet.
6 feet, so 2 yards. Isn't that 2 yards?
That's the number they pulled out of their ass, by the way.
I think it's more distance than really is needed, but they just want to exaggerate it so people really do it.
4 feet, you can catch it. So it's 6 feet. That's the distance you want. Buffer, 2 feet buffer.
Well, now they're saying like 27 feet. And so to kind of give you an idea, another thing, the governor of Washington he is really an idiot that doesn't have any idea what's going on. And to show you, he made a mandate that when health centers open up, they have to have 300 square feet per person. So nobody can go within 17 feet. Or you got to be separated by this 17 by 17. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so some of these studio owners are like, well, we can't survive on that. That's an absurd thing. And they went to him and they met with him and he said he had never heard of this. He didn't even know about it.
Here's a comment that I got on
he didn't even know it existed. That's how dumb and useless the governor of Washington is.
Here's a comment I got by somebody, by one of my friends on my feed. And he says, I don't know if you can read this, a little maybe too small for you to read, but it says, okay, why is these, get off my screen, these letter, okay. I'm going to refresh this page. I see that Pauline Hanson was on the news yesterday championing the idea that being vaccinated should be optional, a question of choice and a civil right. I'm sorry, this is all fucking crap. Your freedoms and civil rights end when other people's lives are endangered. Now following the advice of highly educated immunologists and biologists in favor of morons is idiotic. Now understanding science is no excuse to ignore it. Pauline Hanson is a media whore that will glom onto anything to get exposure on TV. Okay, some of these things might be true. And sometimes, and maybe the immunologists are correct, but we're talking about the civil rights about making the decision to vaccinate or not vaccinate. And my point here, what I would say to this guy, which I'm not going to say because he probably wouldn't listen to me, is that when you give up a civil right, it's so hard to get it back.
You're not getting it back. You don't get it back.
You don't usually ever get it back. And I almost would say that a civil right is more important than a life. Because
that's what the country was based on. That's what people once went to war and they sacrificed their life to protect freedom. And now what do? We hide in our closet and we sacrifice freedom because we want to reduce our risk of dying a little tiny bit.
If we don't have the ability to speak our minds and things like that, then pretty much everything goes to shit.
Yeah, and as far as listening to the science, it's not listening to the scientists, listening to a few specific scientists, because there are a lot of doctors and scientists that have been out there saying the death rates, we basically have a cure in the hydrocoquolin, that it's extremely effective when done a certain way with zinc and stuff. And that's been banned from Facebook and Google. They've also banned anybody that's in opposition in any way to the CDC or the WHO. And that includes the fact that the WHO and the CDC are in opposition to themselves, right? They've contradicted themselves numerous times, not just on masks, but basically on all sorts of things that they've demanded you do.
Right. So what if we get this? What if we get the situation where we're mandated to take so many vaccines a year, and we don't take them, the police will knock on your door and say, "Hey, you're scheduled to have your vaccine. Your rubella shot supposed to be next week. You're going to go to jail if you don't get your rubella shot."
And hey, by the way, I just posted a by state, so you guys see there's the fact-free lockdown YouTube, which obviously I'm not going to watch now, but Statista, or what is it?
You can share your screen, Nelson, though, that you posted that stuff up there. The bot underneath your name there, there's this thing that says share screen. You don't have to get it for, I don't have to share it. And with the video, though, to make sure when you get to this one part, there's a little tab that says share audio, and you got to click that.
Yeah, I won't share the video. It's a long one.
Oh, okay.
I just shared the link there. So what I will do is I'll share this. This is by state, right? So let's find, we've got the top way up here. This is rates as of August by state per 100,000. So this is per population. So, smaller states. We go down, we go to New York. And by the way, numbers doesn't even matter. It's completely meaningless. I meant to pull up death rates, but as far as cases per 100,000, look at Ohio. Look how far down the list you are.
Well, we were a month ago. It was really bad. I mean,
no, it actually wasn't.
We were talking about shutting down again.
Yeah, but why? Why? Look at that. Is this Ohio? Or was this? I was watching.
There's certain counties where there's a lot more cases than other ones too, and it's been like that the entire time. I mean, because it's Ohio. I don't know how well you know Ohio, but basically you have 3 or 4 major cities, and then everything else is
Ohio.
Sorry.
I think this is Ohio. Right here.
It's so small on the screen, I can barely. Yeah, it's 4 letters. It starts with an O.
Well, you can look up. You can just look up on I mean, you can Google it, obviously, but trying to get Ohio on here. Maybe that's not. It doesn't look like it. Where's O? Yeah.
Yeah, you got Ohio.
Okay, so your case number, this is case number. So this is really a meaningless number because what happened is around June, most states really started ramping up testing. So what happens when you ramp up testing is...
We're in the twilight zone. Oh.
When you ramp up testing, you are going to ramp up numbers, right? So if a certain percent of the population has it, then you double your tests. You're likely to double the number of positives you get. What happened is a lot of states doubled their tests and less than doubled the number of positives that they got. Now, what happened to death rates and hospitalizations in every state across the nation is they went down.
There was a study that said that wasn't true, though. I know that was when this latest surge happened, a month or 2 ago. That's what they were. That's what they were saying. Oh, there's more tests. And it's just because the testing is more available. But then there was some sort of study that said that wasn't what it. That's not what it is. Okay. But I mean, I think it's really like 10 times worse anyway. I mean, whatever the numbers are, there's 10 times. It's 10 times.
All right, gentlemen, I'm pounding a gavel now. Okay.
Well, let me
last time we went on for 3 hours. We were gonna stop in a couple minutes.
Look up Hawaii. Let me say, look up Hawaii. They've been wearing a mask the whole time. They're an island. They're isolated. They're 2,000 miles from anybody. Nobody can come to Hawaii. What happened to Hawaii? Their case numbers are way up.
Right. Last time we went on so long though that I lost part of the video because YouTube would.
Yeah. Okay. So
an hour and a half. It's good enough. All right. So if you guys want to say your goodbyes, you can pick this up next time if you'd like to.
All right. Yeah. Next time will probably be better anyway. I'm not really in so much of a debating mood right
now. Hey, I'm sorry. I totally missed it. You said you were.
I lost it. Yeah, I'm grieving because I lost a pet earlier. It was bad. Like it's a sad story. Yeah. So that was what happened.
Was it a cat or a dog or what was it?
I was a cat. Yeah, I have because I live in like I don't know. Well, I don't know if you know, Benjamin. Like I live in a farmhouse, so I have like these farm cats. And anyway, like one of them got hit by a car like right in front of me today, and like died in my arms.
Yeah,
yeah, it was
I am a cat.
was sad.
I don't like dogs. I like cats. So I do. My condolences. I like cats.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what happened. You said that, and I wasn't sure if you meant because we were talking about Harris nomination. So I didn't know if you.
Yeah. If I was had something to do with that. No, I did. Like I told Benjamin before I got on here that it'd been kind of a rough day. So because I had some second thoughts about doing it, but I mean.
So I mean, I've
why
one of the
not?
few times in my life that I've cried as an adult was my dad called me up, and for some reason he had to tell me, and he's like, "Hey, your cat died this morning." I was like, and then I asked my mom, I was like, "Why did you let him tell me?" "Oh, he wanted to tell you." I was like, "Seriously? That's what?" Because he just you knew what he was going to do. He's like, "Hey, your cat died. Just wanted to tell you."
Like, all right. Well, I've had a good time, gentlemen, and so it's been an hour and a half. So that's
all right. Well, good to see you, Julian. Thanks, Ben, and maybe I'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Likewise,
everybody.
Good night.
Yep. Good night.